average work week. Like, one way to do it would be to legislate it. Another way to do it would be to remove the necessity to work. It's true that if there were a universal basic income, a lot fewer people would be out there trying to find jobs that they ultimately hate. Then there would, and so there would be less of a necessity for people to work, because today a lot of people only work because that's how you get money. So there'd be less of a necessity to work. Therefore, there would be a new necessity to create jobs. If you wanted people to work for you, you'd have to make the jobs that people would like to do. So there would be a design incentive to reduce tedium and degradation in the workplace, and to make work meaningful. Well, what kind of work is meaningful? Is it meaningful to work, increasing market share of one brand of toothpaste over another? Or do people only do that because they're paid to? So a universal basic income doesn't stand alone. It would be part of a massive transformation in our attitude toward work, in the structure of the economy. We would have to engineer, we'd probably have to engineer a lot of degrading jobs out of existence, data input, assembly line work. It's the beginning of a huge change, and that change is happening anyway as people are consciously rejecting traditional notions of work. But ultimately, it comes down to a different view of human nature that says, well, in the old story, the purpose of life was basically to survive, to maximize self-interest. That makes sense for the separate self in a universe of other, because that other out there is indifferent or hostile to your interests. But in the story of interbeing, the purpose of life is to contribute to this larger being. And this is a purpose that we can feel. Like I think I said before, if you're ever in a job where your gifts are not being engaged, where you're not using your gifts, or you're in a job where those gifts aren't going towards something meaningful to you, then you're going to think, I wasn't put here on earth to do this. It's just like an ecosystem. It's, a couple generations ago, scientists thought that nature was just a war of all against all. And everything's in competition with everything else, and therefore, if you remove a certain species, then the other species will be better off, because that'll be one less competitor. But now we're understanding you remove any species and everybody is worse off, and the totality is weaker, because every species is not just in a headlong competition to take